Lake Ozarks, and I asked her to come and kind of give us an update. And she can answer questions for you, but most importantly, she can let us know what's going on.
That's right. Are you my slide changer? Do you need me to do that?
Yeah, I'll
Okay.
try.
Good.
Sometimes I slow down.
That's okay. So once again, I'm Heather Brown. I'm the Executive Director for the Lake of the Ozarks Convention and Visitor Bureau. So very blessed to be in my position. I love what I do. I love tourism. I love this community. And so I always get excited when I'm able to present and just talk a little bit about who we are. We have a lot of rich history here. So I love to educate people. Also, a lot of people don't necessarily know what we do because we promote to outside of the community a lot of the time. So anytime I can talk about who we are and why we're here, I always get really excited. So thank you guys for inviting me, and I really appreciate that. We can go on to the next one. So 2022 is our 90th anniversary. A lot of people don't realize that we were established in 1932. So we have a lot of history here at Lake of the Ozarks, as you all know, but we also have a lot of history with the Convention and Visitor Bureau. So I always like to start off, especially early in the morning when y'all are waking up and you're kind of getting your brains going, to start off with a lot of fun facts, which some of you may already know these, but I'll just go through it. But in lieu of our anniversary, we'll go ahead and go through the facts, and you can stay on this slide for just a second. As many of you know, August 6, 1929, the Union Electric in St. Louis decided to start one of the largest projects, which is known as the Great Osage River Project. It was the construction of the dam, which employed 4,600 employees at that time. They worked day and night to complete the project. 4 months after the construction began, the Great Depression hit. That project then drew workers from all over the country, as many of them lost their jobs during that time. This project not only was massive for our area, but for the United States as well. Then on February 2nd, 1931, that Osage River was impounded and the lake began to fill. By May 30th of 1931, the Lake of the Ozarks was officially open to travel. Once that lake was filled, the Lake of the Ozarks encompassed 92 square miles, 54,000 acres, 646 billion gallons of water, and 1,150 miles of shoreline, which, as you guys hear all the time, more than the state of California. Making this not only a massive project for us, but for its time. After the creation of one of the largest man-made lakes, a few local businessmen came together and said, people are going to travel from all over to see how amazing this is. So the Lake of the Ozarks Convention and Visitor Bureau was formed. That was not our name at that time. It was called Lake Area Association, and the name changed over the years to now what is one of the longest names ever, Lake of the Ozarks Convention and Visitor Bureau. But that is a common name that is recognized across the United States. So you want to be like a lot of other people when you're talking tourism in that language. So we were created in 1932 to promote tourism here at Lake of the Ozarks and to let people know how beautiful this man-made lake is. So in addition to making history as one of the largest man-made lakes, we have continued to make history over the years. So once again, going along the lines of fun facts, here are just a few about Lake of the Ozarks that some may know and some may not. So over the years, Lake of the Ozarks has been inspiration to filmmakers. Many movie shows were centered right around this area, including the popular 60s sitcom Petticoat Junction that was based around a family that owned a hotel in Eldon, Missouri. The famous Hollywood movie Jesse James shot a few scenes right here at Lake of the Ozarks. It had a famous scene where a horse was seen jumping off of a cliff into the lake. The horse was completely safe, but it did panic, causing filmmakers to now have to put no animals were harmed in the making of this film from that scene in that movie. A lot of people don't realize that. Another show, as many of you know, Ozark, that was based around Lake of the Ozarks, fictional in nature. It was still Bill Dubuque, the writer, is from St. Charles, and he used to vacation down here all the time at a small resort with his family and knew one day he would write a script about this beautiful area, and hence how that started coming about. Unfortunately, the last season aired in April, but we got a lot of publicity. That Netflix series not only put us on the map nationally, but internationally as well. So that was very exciting. A lot of Missouri Division of Tourism road shows that they did, a lot of people were like, that's a real place. You guys have a Lake of the Ozarks. And so people from all over the world were asking them if that was a real place. So it put us on the map internationally that we would have never been able to do. Go ahead, go on to the next. Yep, there you go. Nope, you can go back. That's okay. So in 1932, we started converting visitors. We started telling people who we are. And a lot of people don't realize we promote 3 counties, Miller, Morgan, and Camden County. So when I talk about Versailles and Stover and Climax and Eldon, we encompass everybody. We all have our part in tourism in this community. We provide, promote, and encourage civic, commercial, and industrial development and the expansion of the community. So people think, oh, well, your job is just to bring tourism here. Our job is to bring tourism in a lot of ways. It could just be your transient visitor. It can be groups. It can be sports marketing. It's also in the form of economic development. So we want to have the best showcase we can give to visitors, whether it's transient or through group travel. How we do that is through, you can go ahead and change it, through our vacation and services guide. We produce anywhere between 100 and 125,000 of these every year. We actually have books right out front in their foyer. We have our vacation guide. The vacation guide not only is a full comprehensive guide about where to stay, where to go. It has an event calendar. It has every sector of tourism in it, as well as business and service. And then it also goes to AAA centers and visitor centers all over the entire Midwest, as well as we give it to visitors before they arrive in the community. So if they say, hey, I'm coming to the lake, I need a book, and people go, oh, book prints out. I can tell you right now, I just took another 4,000 to my mailing service in Springfield. Print is not out. People are still requesting that book. We have to print more at times just because they fly off the shelf. So people, when you're traveling, like that print piece. If you're planning family reunions, you like that print piece. You can look at it. You can kind of flip through. We also have that book digitally. It's on funlake.com. So you can see it both ways. So we have a lot of, some of the younger generations coming up, they don't want the print piece, but we also give them the option of having that on a digital format. We also have the vacation guide distributed throughout the entire lake area at our members' location, and we have currently over 550 members that support the Convention and Visitor Bureau. We are membership-based, much like a chamber. So you have to join, be a part of our organization, and then by being a member, you can be in the publications and on funlake.com. Those are our main revenue sources for the Convention and Visitor Bureau. This is our current cover for the vacation guide. And we're actually wrapping up the 2023 right now. So you'll start seeing that new cover as well.
Is this the winner of the last, I think they had like a wakeboard contest?
He did. He's actually been a national, well, I don't know if he actually won nationals, but he's competed nationally. That's Brody. His parents own Point Randall Resort over on a horseshoe bend. But yeah. That's right. That's interesting. You know that. A lot of people don't, unless you follow wakeboarding, you don't know that. That's our restaurant guide. This is our current guide. We've already I do photography a year out, so we already have our guide for 2023. The restaurant guide doesn't come out until right before Memorial Weekend. So you'll see this book even through the first half of 2023 as we distribute that, and then the new one always comes out before Memorial Day, right before the season. So. Funlake.com, as I mentioned, is another source in which we promote. This is our #1 resource. We get over 1 million visitors a year to our website. As you know, everything's digital these days. The marketing and ad campaigns drive everybody to funlake.com. You also request your guide on funlake.com. Our digital guides are on funlake.com. Our membership. One thing that I tell people that they don't realize, since we spend a lot of marketing dollars promoting our website, if you are a cleaning business at Lake of the Ozarks and you join and you don't have strong SEO on your own website, or maybe you don't even have a website, if you Google cleaning services Lake of the Ozarks, we will pop up just because you have that presence on Fun Lake because of the amount of dollars we spend on digital marketing. So it's a great tool to be recognized and be on page 1 of Google. So those are just some numbers. We won't go through all of that. So as I mentioned, we have very stringent ways that we take in revenue. We have membership. We have the vacation guide sales. We do all of that internally. We will not farm it out. We've had companies ask us to. One of the reasons we don't is we want it truly to be a visitor guide. We don't want it to get down to about 50 pages and it's just the big people that are going to pay to play. We care about the tiny ad, the small businesses. We want it to truly be a comprehensive guide of what we offer down here. And so we keep all of that in-house. Therefore, what we make on that is what we have to pay. And as you know, paper costs go up, printing costs go up. To get the semis down here to bring us our books, that cost goes up. So what we bring in is what we try to spend and put it out. We also have the restaurant guide we produce in-house as well, same concept. And then we have the digital sales. We do have ads that are available to our members on funlake.com, which is a huge value to them. So we have those revenue streams. But one of the things that we also do is we partner with Tri-County Lodging Association. So I am going to go into some of that funding and talk about how we operate, how they operate, and how we kind of join efforts and come together. So you can go to that. So in 1993, the Convention and Visitor Bureau, believe it or not, because in the 90s, you know, we had a lot of people coming here. People have been coming here for decades. So you think, oh man, the lake's booming. They have a lot of dollars. We had $180,000 to promote this 3-county area to the nation. I mean, that's just insane to think about. So we had no other funding mechanism. So in 1993, the lodging tax passed in our community. You can go up to a 6% lodging tax. They decided to only do 3% at that time because, you know, you get nervous if the new tax things that people are just not going to want to pass full 6%. So they did 3%. So in Miller County, it was 3%, Morgan County, it was 3%, and Camden County, it was 3%. Just in, I believe it was 2008, they went back to try to up it to 5%, and the only county that passed in was Miller. So Miller's lodging tax to this date is 5%. Camden and Morgan are 3% lodging tax. A lot of people get confused. We do not pay this. The visitors pay this. If you go to Kansas City, if you go to Branson, if you go to St. Louis, you are paying taxes when you stay at those hotels. And a lot of times you're paying a lot more than just a lodging tax. You're paying a tourism tax, you're paying a restaurant tax, you're paying a convention center tax, depending on where you're at. Power and Light District, you have additional taxes. We have the lowest tax base for travel and tourism in the entire state of Missouri. So 3% in Morgan and Camden counties and 5% in Miller County is funding. They have business districts. The business districts, Camden County has a business district, Miller County and Morgan County. They have a board. The money goes to those boards. They created in 1993 the Tri-County Lodging Association to work with them on how to spend those dollars. You can go ahead and go to the next one. Currently, TCLA, the business districts collect anywhere between 1.6 to $2 million a year in lodging tax. And you think, oh my gosh, from 180,000, that's huge numbers. To put it in perspective, Branson has about a $14 million budget. So when a lot of people say, hey, why aren't we doing this with Branson? We have not even close to their budget. If you start talking about St. Louis and Kansas City, once again, those numbers just skyrocket even higher. So we do pretty well for the limited dollars that we have. TCLA also receives matching advertising through the Missouri Division of Tourism. And as I mentioned, they have the 3 business districts that make up their board, and then those business districts decide how to allocate those funds. So they decide how to allocate those funds in marketing, as well as group travel, a lot of the fishing tournaments, things like that, anything that brings overnight lodging. So then that way more people stay, the more taxes they get, the more they can promote the lake. So it's a big cycle. And you can just go through. Here's just a recap of the tax. And there's some late reporting. Our years work on fiscal years. So 2022 was the year we actually hit 2 million. So that's kind of a big, you can see that we've increased over the years, which is kind of spectacular considering we've lost a lot of hotels over the last few years. Quality Inn in Lake Ozark, I mean, more and more switched over to long-term hotels. Some of just family resorts have just been done away and they've turned into RV parks, or they're turning into condo complexes. VRBOs and Airbnbs There's no regulation on getting them to pay and remit the lodging tax. So there's a lot of money left on the table that we just have no authority to try to collect. And through Missouri tourism here, this is through Missouri Division of Tourism. Here, just in our 3 counties, the economic impact, you can see how many jobs, and I believe this is low. This is just based off of the sales tax codes, and some of the sales tax codes aren't all of the tourism jobs that we would consider down here. So this is actually a low number, but it just shows you the economic impact that tourism has on this community. So as we promote the Lake of the Ozarks, we work with Tri-County Lodging Association. Everyone says, okay, well, you guys have the same purpose. Why do we have both organizations? We work closely with them. So they administer, they collect that lodging tax, they monitor the lodging tax. And then what they do is we become a vendor to them. So we have the staff, we already have the designers. So we create their entire ad campaigns, all of their branding. We have the web administrator. He does all their digital marketing. He monitors their digital marketing. He promotes all of their digital marketing. We have the office staff to help them with any projects that they have. So in addition to that, we have the vacation guide, which is their marketing piece that they promote through their ad efforts. We have funlake.com, which they promote through their advertising. So what we do is we do kind of like a quasi relationship, but they pay us for services. A lot of people are like, oh, well, if they went away, you guys just wouldn't have a budget. That's not accurate. We have other revenue streams, but they pay us for our services. I wouldn't have to have so many employees doing certain jobs if we didn't have that budget and have to do a lot of work for them. So we get paid for our services. When we do the marketing and ad campaigns, we focus on an 8 to 10 hour drive from Lake of the Ozarks. This has shifted. It used to be about a 4 to 6 hour drive market, and actually through the pandemic, we saw people traveling farther. So even though we do have people that travel farther than that, the bulk of them are coming between 8 to 10 hour drive of Lake of the Ozarks. Once again, that's because of our budget. If we had the 14, 15, $20 million budgets of some other DMOs, it would be more of a nationally larger travel span. We also don't have a large airport, which also hinders us on some of that farther away. So about 8 to 10 hour drive is where we focus. And as you can see, obviously the leisure traveler, someone who's just coming on vacation, as well as group travel, sports marketing, destination weddings, conventions, all of that. So a lot of people want to say, well, how many people are coming to the lake? We do not have that information. We cannot tell you on 4th of July weekend that we had 4 million people at the lake. If someone throws out a number, I always say, be very careful repeating that number because it costs a lot of money to have that type of data. So we have between 1.6 and $2 million ad budget essentially. So to pay for programs that are going to monitor that, it costs tens of thousands of dollars, if not upwards of almost 100,000. If you want it to be accurate, a lot of them will even say, well, we can get you close. And if you want it to be more accurate, you've got to pay this much. And we're like, well, then we're not going to pay anything. So, so what we do is we measure our success on a lot of different scales. So we look at the lodging tax. Are we up? Are we down? How's that working? We look at occupancy numbers. We look at attendance through different attractions. We look at, ballparks. A lot of hotels are like, hey, we're full solid because of this event. And we start tracking that and we look at that. We look at our website stats. Is our traffic going up? Where are people coming from? And then we compare that year over year. We look at our vacation guide requests. Are those up? Are those down? Where are they coming from? We look at the economic impact numbers through Missouri Division of Tourism. How are those changing? We had a $326 million last year. What is it this year? I mean, we constantly are looking at that because MDT can pay for those programs. However, they don't get it specific to our area. We look at our social media engagement. We look at a whole bunch of different factors and we say, okay, let's look at all these numbers. And that determines, are we having a good year? Or are we having a bad year? Is our ad campaign working? What are our KPIs for those ad campaigns? So we look at those trends and that tells us overall how we are doing. However, to say we had 1 million visitors is just so hard. As many of you know, Bike Fest event's a big event down here at Lake of the Ozarks. I sit on that committee. I can't tell you how many bikers are here. They're in 3 counties. I have no way of tracking that. I have no way of knowing. I just know that if you try to call to get a hotel room during Bike Fest, good luck, right? I do know though, because we do the passport program, that I have a sample. I know that about 1,000 bikers are doing this passport program. They give me their address, they give me their phone number, they tell me where they heard from us. So I have a slip, and then I put that into a database, and then I can tell you based off of my sample, hey, I had 23 states come to Bike Fest. I had this many people, stay in these types of lodging facilities. It's a sample, but it gives me an idea of where I need to place my marketing dollars. But I can't tell you, we had 125,000 bikers at Lake of the Ozarks around this time. I have no way of knowing that. However, it would be great if people reported it, but they're not going to. So we just know that it's a successful year. Our businesses' dollars are up. We look at sales tax, we look at toll bridge traffic, we look at all of these different factors to say, hey, are we up or are we down? Our marketing's working because it's up. So that's how we analyze the success. You can go ahead and go on to the next one. One of the things that I like to tell people, it changed drastically down here due to COVID. We all know that. Thankfully, the bulk of that is behind us, I hope. 100 years ago, when what was it, the Spanish flu that came through and rocked our nation then, and then the pandemic. I mean, nobody, if you were here 100 years ago, maybe you would have remembered, but we have very few people. So no one
Well,
knew.
he's
Here. We have a 100-year-old CP, so he probably does, but he was probably a kid. But nobody knew how to navigate those waters. Nobody knew exactly what was going on, what's right, what's wrong, how to perform. What happened during the pandemic is our visitor profile changed. People were relocating. People are now doing remote working. Our climate has changed within the community. So we have had to adjust our marketing. We had to be very flexible with our marketing during COVID. Now, this past year is the first year we've seen it go back to somewhat normal. It's still shifted. We're still seeing farther out people. Our markets have shifted. We saw more people from Dallas than we've ever seen. We've seen more people from Colorado than we've ever seen. So just seeing those trends and making sure it wasn't just a trend and it's actually our new normal, that's what we're pacing and monitoring right now. Funding has changed drastically. Through COVID, we lost all of our funding for 9 months, and then all of a sudden the government started just giving us money out of the blue, and then they say, oh, you've got 2 months to spend $400,000, and we're like, oh, okay, here we go. So you start going through and you start saying, okay, well, what's our wish list? So then we got good at having wish lists, and then that just kept happening. Even in 2021, they were like, okay, here's some more ARPA money, or here's this, or here's that. And so we were able to really promote this community more than we ever have due to the Missouri Division of Tourism and our legislators giving us money for tourism, because they saw the impact of tourism and how it had on the state during COVID. Unfortunately, our budget's going back to normal. We work off of a fiscal year, which is July 1 through June 30th. And come this upcoming July 1, it'll be back to our normal co-op amount. This past year, they gave us $450,000 to co-op, and it'll go back down to about $225,000. And that's just, once again, the Missouri Division of Tourism, if you're not familiar, their budget fluctuates every year based on legislation. So if you have really good people that support you, you can have higher amounts. It could be like 18 million for Missouri Division of Tourism, and then they filter that down to the DMOs, is what we call it, Destination Marketing Organizations. And so we do have some really good hitters. Mike Kehoe is a very big supporter of tourism. And so we have some really amazing people in legislation right now. We knew that larger amount wasn't going to sustain. So we were grateful we had it when we did. Meetings and groups fell off during COVID. They have not returned to normal just yet. Sports did amazing during COVID, but conventions and your typical conventions, they just came to a halt. We are seeing them come back, but they are nowhere near what they used to be. And I'm not so sure, I mean, we don't know, but I'm interested to see how that changes moving as we move forward. So looking ahead, we are continuing our positive, safe messaging, which I still think no matter what, that should have been our message anyway. We have the amazing outdoors at Lake of the Ozarks. Not only do we have a 54,000 acre lake, but we have the largest state park in the state of Missouri. We have beautiful terrain. You guys were talking about fall foliage and how gorgeous it is. Any time of year, it is gorgeous at Lake of the Ozarks. We have so much beauty here between Hahatonka, PB1, PB2. You just have so many conservation areas that you can explore between biking, hiking, walking, fishing, kayaking. We have so much, and that saved us during the pandemic. You can come down here, you can enjoy the great outdoors and not have that fear of being around too many people. You could be around people if you wanted to, but you didn't have to. We have the great outdoors. So we're going to continue to promote that safe message because why not? That's a huge thing. Mental health is a huge thing for us. And we have the most beautiful spot to just retreat and focus on your mental health down here. So we're going to continue to promote those safe messages. And like I said, through the great outdoors, as a destination, through our events, through our sports. And then we're going to create a different strategic plan moving forward. So we're in the process of creating a new strategic plan for our organization on our focus and what our focus should be, because post-pandemic things have changed. The way people do business has changed. The way boards interact changed. I don't know if you've noticed, but people don't attend as many meetings anymore. I mean, you didn't have to during the pandemic, and then they're like, man, I like not going to so many meetings. So then they don't, or they can work remotely. Oh, well, let's all Zoom. And so things have changed. So we're revamping and we're looking at what's our future like here? What do we want it to be like here? And so as a marketing organization that promotes tourism and brings people down, we are really going to focus our strategic planning and what that looks like. A lot of people don't realize that through a CBV, economic development is a huge part of what we do. So our strategic planning is going to be part of that. We are like everybody else. We don't necessarily want to see just this area turning into a city. We love the quaintness. We love what this community feels. And so economic development doesn't always mean big projects, something huge, taking down trees. It can mean just revitalizing an area, rehabbing existing buildings, bringing in the type of businesses that can bring in year-round employment for younger generations to stay in our community. So that's what economic development could mean. So you may see me on a lot of boards that you're like, why would Heather be on that board? It's because a lot of times it ties into the economic development side of things. So we're really excited to watch that and move forward and see how the lake evolves. We have a lot of exciting things happening right now. One of the things that we have going on is there is a tourism grant that's out for infrastructure development or rehabbing existing structures. It was great that Missouri Division of Tourism was able to give extra marketing dollars, but one of the things we said on a state level is that's great, but guess what? We're getting our name out there. We're doing a great job, but let's talk about something that will last long term. We have all of these facilities and all of these things that are happening that we just don't have the funds for. Not everybody did well during the pandemic. We were blessed enough to kind of stay afloat during the pandemic, but there's a lot of communities that did not do so well. And so that tourism grant is for rehabilitation of structures, expansion of structures. So, if ballparks decided to have a phase 2 to their facility, they could apply for this grant. It varies in amounts, but it's from like $1 million up to $3.5 million matching dollars. So you have to have the matching dollars for it. CBV doesn't have the matching dollars, so that business would have to have the matching dollars, but there are a lot of communities taking advantage of that. St. Louis, Kansas City, I already have all their plans. I know exactly what they're applying for, but a lot of it's rehabbing their convention centers, getting it prepped. Kansas City's doing a lot of infrastructure changes. I'm not sure how many of you know they were awarded FIFA. So in the upcoming years, they will host an international soccer competition, which will affect us.
Are you guys gonna do anything on marketing with World Cup?
We will to an extent, yes, but we will see a lot of overflow as people are coming to and from that event. So
Folks are gonna be there for a month.
they are going to be there for a very long time, as well as spectators. And if you're traveling from the East Coast, West Coast, and you're coming for this event, you're going to stay longer than just the event. So we hope to capture them and get some of their vacation time down here at Lake of the Ozarks. Plus, they just don't have the lodging. So,
International.
Yeah.
With international people, traditionally, would have spent the whole month, whatever those cities.
they do. And that's why with our marketing, we were really excited when we started seeing people from Dallas and Colorado, they stay longer. So when I do an event like Bike Fest and I see that someone came from Ontario, Canada, and they said that they stayed for 14 days, I'm very excited about that because our event's only 4. So like you came and you stayed for 10 extra days to take advantage of our lake. So it's very exciting. So when we can pull from those farther destinations, the problem is the marketing budget. So we have to get very creative. The good thing is a lot of things are digital now, so you can make those dollars spread a little farther into markets you wouldn't normally do. So, any other questions?
Well, speaking of big budget, if you do have a contract that's 40 KC, then, okay. I did too, is they, 40 KC actually advertised on radio and on local TV stations this past year, so.
Yeah, they do a really good job, and I have monthly calls with Kansas City too. So yeah, they're doing a phenomenal job. They rolled out the red carpet for that proposal. They did amazing. Yep. Anything else? I know people have to get going.
Yeah, Heather, you've done a great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh,
We don't pay honorarium, but
yeah.
in your honor, Rotary International is all about the eradication of polio worldwide.
Yes.
Okay? And so we will, as a club, donate a fund to the fund to set up 10 inoculations in your honor. as a speaker today. So
Thank
you.
you. That's amazing.
Picture of that.
And